In this demo, I'm going to join my core server to the domain. So in my Hyper-V Manager, I'm just going to go to RTS Core. I'm going to put it in full screen, and we will connect. Now I just have to sign in. And it's going to automatically load the sconfig menu. Earlier in our post-installation tasks, I did set the computer name. So it is already named RTS Core, but that was the only thing we did. Number 8 is necessary. We have to define the network settings. So I'm just going to type 8. 1 for my network interface. And I want to set the network address first. So I'm just going to type 1 and hit enter. I want this to be a static address. So I'll just type S for static. Now I will just enter the address. I'm going to use 192.168.1.252. Now this is the default subnet mask that I already want to use. So I'm just going to hit enter. Enter default gateway. I'm just going to use 192.168.1.1. A weird thing about the evaluation version of server core and only server core, if you do not set the default gateway, sometimes it actually errors out and just like exits out of the interface. So do be aware if that happens, just set the default gateway and it will work for you. That's all I need. Now we have to go back and set the DNS server. So I'm going to type 8 again. 1 for my network interface, 2 to set DNS servers, and it says enter your preferred DNS server. That is the IP address of my domain controller. So my domain controller is my DNS server. So I'm going to use 192.168.1.250, and we'll hit enter. I have no alternate DNS server, so I will leave that blank and just hit enter. We'll press enter to continue. That all looks good. So let's try to join the domain. Option 1 is to join the domain. So we'll just type 1, D for domain or W for workgroup. So I'll just type D. Now it wants the name of my domain, which is rtsnetworking.local. Now specify an authorized domain /user. So that's going to be my domain name, rtsnetworking.administrator. Now it wants the password. That was successful. Successfully joined the domain. Do you want to restart? I'll just hit Y to restart. And now this is asking me if I want to change the computer name. I don't, because we already named it RTS Core. But what this does is give me the ability to do this all at one time with only one reboot. You could join the domain, then you can rename the computer. But I already have the computer name I want, so I'm just going to hit enter. We'll leave that blank. And that quickly we have rebooted. Now I'm going to sign into the RTS networking. But notice when I type administrator by itself, it did default and switch back to RTS Core. So we're just going to put RTS networking /administrator. Then I'll have to tab down. You cannot click in here and have the cursor actually move. Anywhere you click, it does not matter. The cursor still sits here. So I will tab down, and now I will enter my password. And I am signed into RTS networking. Now there's nothing to look at on the server itself. It's just joined to the domain. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to go back to my RTS DC1. Oh, I guess I had closed that here. So I'm going to connect to RTS DC1. Administrator and my password. The same way I added RTS Serve 1 into this all servers here, I'm going to do the same thing with RTS Core. So add server, Active Directory, we will find now RTS Core is in the list. I'm going to click this little arrow to add it and OK. And that's going to connect to RTS Core. So this is giving me the activation status. They're all activated. The last update, manageability, they are all online. So I know they're powered on. I know I have no connectivity issues, no authentication issues. And I see the IP address and name for each of those. Well, if I want to manage anything on Server Core, maybe I want Server Core to be a web server. If that's true, I could simply go to add roles and features. I could go next. Make sure the Server Core, RTS Core, is selected. It is. And you could install any role or any feature. You could do all of this graphically. Just do it from a remote server. So Server Core is not as intimidating as it actually initially sounds. If you are managing it locally, you are primarily going to use PowerShell. Now, we do look at some PowerShell settings within the course, so you'll have an idea of how those actually compare for us. But for now, we are done with Server Core, just so it does not start consuming too many resources. Now, it does not consume many resources, but I don't have a need for it to be running. So I'm going to go back to that core, and number 14 is shutdown server. So I'm just going to type 14, and we're just going to have it power off. We'll say yes to confirm, and that's just going to shut down the operating system. So that's all, not consuming any CPU or memory resources now. The last thing I'm going to do is go back to my RTS DC1. Now this is showing here online. It'll take a moment. It may not reflect this yet, but this will eventually change to offline, and it's just going to show up with a triangle on it, and it's going to continuously give you error messages. Because throughout the course, we will not use Server Core a lot, and I just hate seeing the error messages keep showing up here. So I'm going to just right click that and remove server. Now all that did is remove it from this list, not from the domain or anything like that. Now if I go to Active Directory users and computers, this computers container only had one server in it before, that RTS serve one we joined to the domain. If I refresh, now you'll see RTS Core shows up. So we have both of those servers now joined to our Active Directory domain. Pretty neat overall.